What's going on, Wolves and Warriors? My name's Jay Stewart, and this is the Better Body Academy podcast, the #1 show for those looking to permanently overhaul their mind and body without dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. We banish the fitness industry BS and replace it with science-backed strategies proven through countless client transformations. In the Better Body Academy, we help busy men and women around the world get unstuck and back into momentum so they start feeling strong and sexy again. Our mission is to transform 1 million lives, and you, my friend, could be next. And on that note, let's get straight into today's show. Guys, welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast, your #1 podcast. If you're looking to transform your mind and body permanently without these stupid, dumb diets, unsustainable workout programs, I want to firstly say howdy and hi to you guys who are kicking off your weekend in a big way, whatever you're doing with your family. I hope you're having a beautiful time doing so. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about the topic of COVID and how seriously, I guess, we should take this when we look at it in context. Okay, guys? So just a little heads up, guys. For those of you that are listening on podcast, if you're feeling so inclined and you're getting value out of these episodes, please share to your stories. I'd love you guys to support the podcast in any way you can. You know that the aim of the Better Body Academy podcast is to take this out to the masses, the fact that you don't have to subscribe to these dumb diets in order to get what you want. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Guys, today we're going to be talking about COVID, and we're going to be talking about the hysteria that it's caused. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I really want to put this into context, okay? I remember back when I was at home, I think it was at Christmas time last year, and we were staying in an Airbnb in Bondi Beach. And it was kind of when the depths of COVID were happening. And you guys remember what this was like? Like, you were going to the shopping centers and there was literally no toilet paper left. Do you remember how that felt? Like, there's no toilet paper left. You're cruising down the aisles, and all of the aisles that have got like rice and, you know, flour and wheat, these were all sold out. All the oatmeal was gone. It was like all the doomsdayers who predicted the end of the world were right. All those blokes that were weaseling away down in their kind of bunkers that they built under their houses were kind of finally being shown to be truth. We knew that this was coming. It was like quite hysterical at the time. I kind of know what it's like for people in the UK, in Canada, in the US. Is far different to the experience of people in Australia. The people over this side of the world are like, this is a real thing. Right? It's not kind of toilet paper wars like it was in Australia. Over here, it's the real thing, and the cases are fairly high. But what I wanted to do in this episode, the goal of this podcast, is to maybe bring some awareness to how you might be getting worried about the wrong thing. Okay? So what would be the consequences of you potentially getting worried about the wrong thing? All right, so you might waste a whole lot of time and energy, and you might not get COVID because you're kind of running around, protecting yourself, paying attention to the news, making sure that you don't catch it. Everyone's so hysterical about COVID. They're just like, So the problem is people are putting COVID, and probably because it's an acute issue that we're dealing with, they're putting it on the highest priority. We're at lockdown and we're not allowed to hang out with our friends and family. For me as a health coach, I am looking at this thinking, why are people so infatuated, so hysterical about COVID, but there are things that are going on in their life which are of far greater risk to them and consequence to them, and they're completely neglectful of it. So I think the reason that this occurs is because the vast majority of us pay only attention to things that are happening to us in the next week or the next month or the next year. This is called recency bias. a tendency to think only or remember things that have happened in the short term while paying no attention to our future at all. And let's face it, COVID is the big story at the moment. It's the story that any phone call you have, any news article that you read, it's all about COVID. This said, if you heed my warnings and what I'm talking about in this podcast, you may arrive at 50 or 60 years old with a chance of living a very long, healthy life with high control, high lifestyle or quality, okay? This will occur because you won't suffer from recency bias and all your attention and energy won't be occupied about COVID. It will be instead looking at where your health is going to be in 10, 20, 30 years from now. The far more important part. Now, what I do want to do, guys, is start this kind of, these statistics that I'm about to give you with complete acknowledgement of one thing, okay? There are a lot of people in the world that are experiencing very dire consequences as a result of COVID, okay? Please, all respects to the families and friends of people who have been devastated by this illness. However, I do want to add some figures to this debate as a means of trying to put some context in. So let's start at the top. So I've pulled these figures this morning. Where we are currently is 166 million cases of COVID worldwide. 166 million, okay? Of that, we've got around 3.5 million deaths, okay? So from 166 million cases, 3.5 million deaths. This is a death rate of around about 2%. And obviously some countries are suffering much higher than others, okay? So US rates 33,600,000 deaths. Canada, where I am living, 1.3 million cases, 25,000 deaths. Let's talk about the UK, 4.5 million cases, 130,000 deaths. And in Australia, where I'm from, 30,000 cases to date and 910 deaths, okay? So when we're looking, the death rate is somewhere around 1.5 to 3% of people that get it end up dying, okay? Now that sounds not very cool, okay? So what I want to do is talk to you about something that I think is a more major issue for people in Western countries. So let's talk first about diabetes, okay? Diabetes is up there with the #1 killers of men and women in Western countries. And the way that it does this, not only does it impact your quality of life through leading to things like blindness, okay? So when you have high blood sugar levels, what actually happens is that blood is very syrupy and it can't move through the small vessels of your eyes and your kidneys. And so what happens is those organs, you either go blind or, for example, if the blood can't get to the actual extremities of your feet, like your toes and your ankles, what ends up happening is the tissue there dies. So diabetes is the #1 cause of amputations, of kidney disease, and it leads to around, according to the World Health Organization, around 1.5 million people die globally each year of diabetes. An additional 2 million people die of complications with high blood glucose, okay? This is things like heart attack and stroke. People that suffer diabetes have a 2 to 3 fold increase in heart attack risk or stroke risk. So if you add those two numbers together, what the World Health Organization says is that about 3.5 million people around the world each year die as a result of diabetes. 3.5 million. That is the same amount as the number of people that have died so far worldwide from COVID. Why are we only starting to do something about this COVID thing, but we aren't doing anything about diabetes? Let me give you some more stats. The #1 cause of death in the world is cardiovascular disease. Okay? Cardiovascular disease. What is cardiovascular disease? It's all of the diseases of the heart and blood vessels. Okay? 108 million cases of cardiovascular disease in 1980. It's gone up to 4 times that, 420 in 2014. 700 million cases of heart disease predicted to occur. It's just like, these numbers are phenomenal. The number one cause of death in the world is cardiovascular disease. There's 20 million people that die each year of cardiovascular disease. 6 million of them are considered premature. 6 million premature deaths. There's 3.5 million people that have died from COVID. Yet 6 million people die prematurely from heart disease. These conditions of diabetes and heart disease are preventable in such a high proportion of the cases. What are the number one causes of these conditions? Tobacco, alcohol, being overweight, being inactive, and having a shitty diet. These are the 5 things: alcohol, tobacco, obesity, diet, and inactivity. Why do we not pay attention to these things and we only pay attention to COVID? Is it because of recency bias? Is it because COVID is hitting us now, whereas diabetes, heart attack, they won't hit us until we're 50 or 60? Out of sight, out of mind. Let me ask you a couple of questions. If I asked you now, if you're 20 years old, what would you say is the most important thing to you? I'm guessing you probably say like studying and having a good time and kind of that sort of stuff, right? Going out and partying. What about if you're 40 years old? If I asked you at 40, what's the thing that you value the most? What are you likely to say? Probably your career and your family, I'm guessing, your career and your family. What about when you're 60? If I asked you, what is the thing that you value the most when you're 60? I'm guessing that all of a sudden you start to say things like health. Health becomes an issue. Health, because I want to be around for my kids and grandkids. So when we know the thing in the future that will cause us pain is our health, why do we not worry about it till then? I'll say it again. If we know the thing in the future that's going to cause us our pain is our health, why do we not worry about our health until then? Yet we're going ballistic about COVID now. When COVID kills what is around 1/5 of the number of people that die of a heart attack every year. If you found out today that you had diabetes, what would be your reaction? I think the majority of us probably wouldn't understand. They'd say, oh, isn't that condition the one with like, you get the high blood sugar, right? But we don't actually know what happens when we get this high blood sugar. The idea of our kidneys failing, losing our eyesight, or having our ankles chopped off, do we know about that? Why is no one talking about that? Why are we talking about COVID? What about if you found out today that you had high cholesterol and if you don't sort it, it's going to cause a heart attack? Would you do something about it? I think this head in the sand mindset is that if we ignore it, it'll just go away. If we ignore it, it'll just go away. I heard a quote by Robin Sharma, which I think is brilliant. Health is the crown on a well person's head that only the sick person can see. I'm going to say that again. It's a beauty. Health is the crown on the well person's head that only the sick person can see. Think about that. Pretty heavy, right? I think people's biggest procrastination is that they think that health is going to be this long, painful, horrible journey, which you're going to hate every step of the way. And when I look at the clients inside the Better Body Academy, nothing could be further from the truth. What I see is men and women that are being liberated and are enjoying themselves in the process. The truth is, if you focus on your pain only and not the pleasure that you stand to gain, you're coming from a lack mindset. But what if you put your mindset into the place of, what do I stand to gain if I really get my health in order again? Imagine feeling alive and young. Imagine feeling alive and young. That's the shit right there. I feel such gratitude that right now at nearly 39 years of age, I feel as healthy as I did when I was 25. And it's not because I'm special, it's just because I learned the tools to control my health. I learned how to train and feed myself. And then most importantly, I learned how to think and live in a way that was conducive to living a good, productive, healthy, happy life. I'm thinking ahead to where I'm going to be at 40, 50, 60, understanding that the things that I do now are going to massively impact upon where I'm going to be in 10, 20, and 30 years. Imagine right now if you were feeling great. That journey can really start now if you're ready for it to start. Everything is important. Everything is super important until you are sick. And then you realize the only thing that was ever important was your health. I'm going to say that one again. Everything is super important. Finances, having a certain position in an argument, telling your boss he's a dickhead, everything is important. Having a good car, having all these material goods, everything is so important and is prioritized until you were sick. And then you realize the only thing that you ever had was your health. But nonetheless, we continue to borrow from the bank of our health, taking loans on stress and sleepless nights to pay for something that doesn't really matter, just to keep up with the Joneses, just to save face. Oh my gosh. Guys, we're so caught in this COVID mindset, this life-threatening thing, which is put your mask on, you're going to get COVID, get your vaccinations. But no one's actually paying attention to the killers that are right in front of us. Diabetes, heart disease, stroke. There is a genetic component to these things, but for the most part, they're lifestyle conditions. And what you are doing now is going to determine, to a large part, whether you get those things in 10, 20, 30 years. I was talking to a young gentleman, I'll say, at the gym today. He's 74 years old. And I asked him, what advice would you give yourself to your 35-year-old self if you had the chance to go back in time? And he said that to start earlier on your health journey, because every year that you get older, it gets harder and harder and harder. And it's not that you don't want to change, it's that you don't know where to start and you're procrastinating and pushing it out and putting your head in the sand. Guys, one of the tough things about being a coach is that you know these things, but it's not your job to tell people when they're ready. Your job is to help people who are ready. And the beauty of it is that when you are ready, it's actually easier than you think when you get the right coach, when you put yourself in the right environment where you feel supported, where you have a little bit of accountability. And something you might want to consider is that investing in yourself now and spending a little bit of money to acquire the tools now is very much like spending a little bit of money on your son's or daughter's tuition, on their schooling, so that you can make sure that they get a good education, so that when they're 20 and 30, they can get into the university degree that you want them to. Isn't that the exact same for you? Why don't you actually do what you tell them to do? Whether it's with the BBA or something completely different, start prioritizing yourself. Spend a bit of money acquiring some tools and a mindset that's going to pay off for the rest of your life, which in turn pays off to your kids because you can be a better coach for them. Guys, this podcast is not about, unicorns and rainbows. I feel like my goal is to try to bring awareness to the issues that no one is talking about and to destroy the fitness industry bullshit. Talking about what supplements you need and, how you got to train 17 times a week to get a result. The truth is, you don't. What you need to do is develop a mindset of a healthy man or woman. And once you hold that mindset, guess what? Becoming healthy is somewhat easy and automatic. It's beautiful. You don't actually have to think about it. It's just what you do. It's actually harder to be unhealthy than it is to be healthy. So guys, I'm going to leave it on that note. A little bit of a hard hitter there. If you could keep pace with a lot of those stats, good for you. I couldn't. The whole point is, let's start to look at this COVID thing in the context of the actual things that kill us, particularly in Western countries. We're going to leave it there, guys. Have a beautiful weekend. I appreciate you coming in and tuning in to the Better Body Academy podcast, your number one podcast for transforming your mind and body permanently without these dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. I want to shout you guys out. Thanks for getting involved in the podcast, guys. Have a beautiful weekend, and we will chat soon. Wolves and Warriors, thank you so much for tuning in. If this podcast is hitting the mark for you and giving you the confidence to start your own personal journey, I want you to hit me up on Facebook or head over to my Instagram at jstewart_BetterBodyAcademy and DM me with the words Better Body Academy. I want to give you the tools to permanently overhaul your mind and body without dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Our mission is to achieve 1 million lives transformed, and you, my friend, could be next. So hit me up on Facebook or head over to my Instagram at jstewart_BetterBodyAcademy and DM me with the words Better Body Academy, and we can have a chat about whether we can help you with your transformation goals.